I keep making these videos telling you about robotics in Japan, and I keep telling you that America is not the be-all, end-all of technology when it comes to robotics. If we want to get into it, the swamp has an agenda that bends the will of the people who would be doing robotics. That is, universities and actual private companies that are in the robotics industry, with the incentive of millions of dollars going to the company or to research or to studies in university. While in the United States, robotics is almost 90% manufacturing. So, you have places like Chrysler manufacturing plants where they produce the cars, nearly go bankrupt. I don't know if you're old enough to remember. And they had to retool the entire company where they make the cars. And they went from thousands of human beings making cars to equally thousands of robots. So that you get places like Detroit saying that as much as the union wanted to bend Chrysler and other car manufacturers over their knee and spank them for not paying the workers what they absolutely wanted, now you have plants where 100 people can do the work of thousands of other people in the past because of robotics. And the same robots are engaged in all of the quality assurances that you had humans doing before. So now robots can look at, almost on a molecular level, is this car part safe, which a human can't do. And when we then excuse ourselves from the manufacturing side of robotics, the United States is concerned with the military side of robotics. And the swamp loves them some military stuff. And we have extensive studies and research done of how the interaction of soldiers with the military robots is handled. Do they form relationships? Are they able to conduct missions with the robots? And of course the answer is yes, but the answer is also that the humans do form relationships with the robots as much as they form relationships with their fellow man on a mission, such that should the robot ever become broken or whatever you want to call it, they have an emotional response to that. Unlike you would think that a person shouldn't have an emotional response to the robot getting injured or broken or what have you, because we, standing on the outside, would think that it's just a nuts and bolts. Why would I get emotional about that? So then we in the United States, social robots, which is the topic that I'm talking about, are relegated to things in the United States to the adult industry. Sure, they can say that there's a potential for social robots to help the elderly or to help in the health industry, but that takes a very far back seat. First of all, the health industry and the insurance industry are concerned with fleecing people out of their money. They're not concerned with actually curing people. So you have that aspect there. So social robots are not applied to such thing as the elderly and healthcare in any sort of curative way. This is not the case in Asia. First of all, Asia has accepted robots and automatons for hundreds of years. Japan in particular has always struggled with their population, so having an automaton do stuff has been widely accepted by their culture. You had automatons deliver tea to samurais. Little toy-like things, but still they were automatons during the feudal period. So when I deliver this series that Japan is releasing a fully functional female robot, now you understand where I'm coming from. That the unquestioned leader in the entire world on robotics is not actually China, it is Japan. China is striving to be the unquestioned leader. China announces that they're They want to be the unquestioned leader of robotics. In the meantime, you have high school students in Japan delivering robots that can clean their room. Totally serious people at such a low level of education, right? That's what we're saying. We're saying that high school students in Japan are delivering stuff that actual manufacturers in the United States can't even come to terms with. We have a company in the United States that makes a robot walk. That's it. That's all they do. Walk. And in Japan, the high schoolers are having robots clean their room. So we have another breakthrough with scientists in Japan and even the United States. If you look at a robotics company, you're going to see 70% of the employed staff are Asian to begin with. So we have a breakthrough. And before I get into it, if you want to buy t-shirts or face masks or whatever, you can click on the thing under the video here on YouTube and buy any one of the products. Also, to make me a big-time YouTuber, make sure you watch the entire video. Click the like button, leave a comment, subscribe, click the bell, notification bell. I had over 500, almost 1,000 people subscribe last month. So this message is resonating with people, and I believe that people want to watch me, they just forget to subscribe. So make sure you subscribe. 90% of the people who watch me do not subscribe, aren't subscribed to me, and once they watch a video, they forget I even exist. And then a year later, they go, "Oh, you're still here. I remember watching this such and so video about you." Well, if you would subscribe, you would actually put me further ahead in this rat race called YouTube. So let's get on with this. Nothing says, "Come hither," than the look in her eyes. As if the skin being real, which I already talked about in the series, the muscles being real, human muscles, which are already talked about in the series, on a robotic frame, what about the spark of life in the eyes? This is what the marriage between science and the fiction of life has been working on in Japan, making that robot seem even more real than real. With eyes that are so hyper-realistic, they would fool you into thinking that's a human or that thing's alive, if you were told that it was in fact a robot to begin with. How are they accomplishing this? First, they made hyper-realistic eyes, and I saw them being made. It's layer upon layer upon layer upon layer of making the eyes so that you have the inner parts of color coming through to the eyeballs with blood vessels, imperfections in the iris, then the movement of the eyes that make you understand what the robot or human is thinking. You know, people don't just look right, left, up, down. They have little quivers in their eyes when they move their eyes. You walk into your brother's room and he's reading. His eyes are moving, telling you he's reading. You find your cell phone on his desk. He glances over at you with his eyes. "Thanks for letting me borrow it." You walk over to him and ask, "So, who's Darla?" He puts his book down and looks up at you with his eyes, then looks away with his eyes, then glances back at you and says, "Nanya." Most of that communication happened with his eyes. And this is what Japan scientists are perfecting. Let's look at that scenario again, but differently. You come home, and your wife robot is on the couch. As you open the door, she sees you, smiles, and runs over to you. "Honey, you're home. I missed you." As she hugs you, she backs away and jumps a little, just how you like it, and says, "Oh, your package arrived. I signed for it. It's in the computer room." She looks toward the computer room and back at you, waiting for you. You both go into the computer room. "Can I open it for you?" She looks over to the knife on your desk. "Sure," you say. She grabs the knife and plops down on the floor next to the box. "I'm really careful with the package." She looks up at you and then at the box, carefully opening the package. Driving home the hyper-realistic world of the new AI isn't enough. To talk as if they understand you and reply, you have to be convinced that they are listening to you and paying attention to you, or thinking about you, or thinking about what you're saying. All of that is accomplished by tiny eye movements. Gaze. This is what the term that they're talking about. Gaze has been shown to be, quote, gaze has been shown to be a key social signal shaping perceptions of interaction partners. For example, people who make more eye contact with us are perceived to be similar to us, as well as more intelligent, conscientious, sincere, and trustworthy. Thus, the aim of this work is to develop a system to emulate human-like mutual gaze, stated the paper. The researchers had focused on the importance of gaze in human interaction and worked to incorporate it into robotics. In researching this research, I uncovered some open secrets that weren't intentionally kept secret, such as, have you ever seen a movie star in person up close? And I'm asking this because you've seen their nose, lips, eyes, ears, hands, feet up close. In fact, you've seen them up close and 90 feet across, as large can be, on the silver screen. So why is it when you get up close to a movie star in person, half the time they have the wrong eye color? Now, it used to be the case that there were humans born with the straightest noses, squarest jaws, perfect teeth, blessed feet, and the movie producers would zoom in on those people's parts. Nowadays, it's all done with CGI or robots. Why a robot? Because you can get a camera in one shot to go from the eye to the ear to the jaw to the hips to the feet in one shot. And the robot is perfect in each spot. I just looked over 100 different screenshots of very popular movies that had fake people parts on screen, especially the eyes. And so they have perfected the movement so much, millions of people have looked at it and thought they were humans. Nope, they were robots. Now the robots will hold a conversation with you and you'll swear they're human. Why is that? Why would they go to such lengths to perfect robots? The answer is very simple. The uncanny valley. It is a human response to things that aren't human, that look sort of human. And it causes fear, revulsion, disgust. It's almost as if they were Democrats. When you're selling $1 million robot, you don't want that. So, they have to overcome the uncanny valley. Because on the other side of the uncanny valley is acceptance, desire, trust. But to do that, the thing must be super realistic, hyper realistic. Now, I said that the robot started out at $345,000. That was years ago. The very first video that I made in the series. And the second video that I made in the series, which was a year later. In doing more research, when you customize the robot, it jumps up to about $1 million, right? That was years ago that I started this series. Now we're talking about, in real terms, that these robots would cost millions of dollars. I have a price tag of $20 million. Now people say, why don't you show us the company? First of all, maybe you don't understand how the world works. Maybe a little bit naive about how the world works. Maybe you don't get that if a company is making $20 million off of you, and I'm giving you the information for free, that I'm not trying to make somebody $20 million, and I have to beg you all for a couple of thousand to get a better computer. That I have to sit here and beg, like all the other YouTubers, all the other big YouTubers who do the same exact thing that I'm doing. But you people want to come into my channel and say, how dare you beg for money? Your congressman begs for money. The Democrats beg for money. But for some reason, if Shakaama asks you for a computer, out of 80,000 people who could donate $1, how dare you beg for money? I hate when people beg for money. But yet, you beg for money and everybody else begs for money all day long. Do you know what a CEO does? He begs for money all day. That's what a CEO does for a company. But I digress. I'm not giving you robot manufacturers who make this because I don't have it set up that I can make a commission off of $20 million. Do you think that, as smart as I am, that I would give away that information for free? Or that, as smart as I am, that I wouldn't give you that information if I had it set up to make a commission off of handing out that information? Heck, I have arrangements to make money off of credit cards and make you and me $100 each, and you all won't even do that. You won't even do that. So let me ask you, how much less of you have $20 million to spend? Oh, I know you talk a good game. Oh, I would buy 2 of these. Yeah, at $1 million, you would buy 2 of these. So you got $2 million. I'll buy 2 of them, and I'll get you one. So you got $3 million. You got $3 million that you could spend on this. And when I tell you that the more realistic price tag is $20 million, you got $20 million? No. So spare me the big talk about how much. Why don't I give the name of the company and the links because I don't have that commission, that finder's fee set up. And if there's a potential that somebody actually has $20 million listening to me, I'm not going to give them a free ride of me not making a commission when I ask for $100 to $1,000 for a computer to be able to do this, I get nothing. I get people saying, "How dare you? How dare you?" Like Greta Thunberg. How dare you? Anyway, I'm giving you the information. Scientists, you can look this up yourself. Scientists came up with perfecting the eye movement in a robot. Perfecting it to the point where you would swear that they're human. I want to say, if I don't make another video for this year, I want to say, I love all of you. I appreciate all of you. You all have done stuff for me this year that I'm not going to cry. You all have done stuff for me this year that you don't even know. You all have made me pull through some very tough times. I've had 3 deaths in the family. I have been sick almost the entire year. I still can't breathe right now. I'm breathing through my mouth as I speak. I'm deaf in one ear, and the virus has ravaged my body because I stay inside all the time in my house. And then when I go out into the public, I catch all the bugs, all the viruses, everything that they have. So this year I have been hit left and right with sickness just over and over and over and over. And if I tell you that I've researched probably more about sickness than the average human being, and I'm telling you we're being used, trust me on that one. I'm not making any grand claims that needs to be fact checked. Trust me, we're being used. Trust me on that. I present this robot series to give you information of what is actually happening, going on around you. The technology that is actually in place. Let me tell you, even with me doing research, digging through stuff to give you the latest on this technological development of social robots, that's not what actually is available out there. You know, they're 10 to 20 years ahead of what they actually release, information that they release to the public. For instance, the Amazon Siri product was released because a company came along and said, we can make a small robot that gives you information and you can talk to it. Never before done. You hear me? Never before done. And when they announced that they were going to do that and they were going to research it, Amazon came out with the Alexa. You can look this up. Amazon came up with the Alexa within a couple of months of that company announcing that they were going to make this robot. What does that tell you? That tells you that they were sitting on the technology already. They already had the technology ready to go. Nobody had talked about a robot that they could talk to. Nobody had talked about a robot that they could give commands to and the robot would respond. Nobody talked about that. Sure, they talked about AI, they talked about this, that, and the other, but nobody talked about an end user product that they could bring to market right now until their company announced what they were going to do. And Amazon came out with it in a couple of months, meaning they were already sitting on they had already done the research, they had already done everything. 2 months? Have you seen Shark Tank? You know, Kevin O'Leary always talks about there's a giant corporation sitting out there that could swallow you up whole because they can produce this product right now. I'm here to tell you they can produce this product right now. Thank you all for watching.